Story 7. Jacob runs away. Jacob was running away. He wanted to stay at home, but he couldn't. His brother Esau was so angry at the trick Jacob had played on him. Jacob must go to his uncle, miles and miles away. It was getting dark now, and Jacob was scared. He was all alone, and he didn't know where he was. Oh! Jacob jumped. What was that? A fierce wild animal that would eat him up. Jacob was very scared. When at last he went to sleep, Jacob had a dream. It was a good dream. In his dream there were stairs, right up to heaven, with angels going up and down them. Then God was right there, talking to him. I have a special present for you, God said. I am giving you this land. It's for you and your children, and your children's children. I have a wonderful plan for the whole world, and your family is part of it. Don't be scared any more. You aren't all alone. I shall be with you always, and I will bring you safe home. That's a promise. When Jacob woke up, he wasn't scared anymore. He knew he wasn't all alone. I will love and trust you always, Jacob said to God, if you keep your promise. He didn't know yet that God always keeps his promises. Before long, Jacob was safe at Uncle Laban's house. He helped him look after the sheep. Jacob was away from home a long, long time. He worked hard for his uncle, and he married both his cousins. Uncle Laban tricked him into marrying Leah before he let Jacob marry Rachel, the one he really loved. 2 wives at once was not a good idea. They quarrelled over Jacob, making everyone unhappy. Jacob had a big family, 10 boys and a girl. He had many sheep of his own, but he was sick of Uncle Laban's nasty tricks. It was time to go home. They were nearly home when Jacob began to worry. What would his brother Esau do? Was he still angry? I'll send him some presents, Jacob decided, but he was still worried. That night, Jacob could not sleep. He was all alone, but he knew God was there to help him. All this time, God has kept me safe, Jacob said to himself. Now he is bringing me home. Everything will be all right. Next day, Esau was so glad to see him. He hugged and kissed Jacob, and they both cried. Jacob was home again. Story 8. The Jealous Brothers. Joseph had a brand new coat. His father had given it to him. It had zigzags and stripes, red and blue and yellow. It was a special coat, not one for every day, but Joseph wore it all the time. Look at me, Joseph said to his brothers. Look at me in my new coat. Dad's always given you things. He loves you more than us. It's not fair, his brothers shouted. Joseph had 10 big brothers and 1 little brother, but none of them, not even little Ben, had a new coat like this. Their father Jacob did love Joseph best, and it wasn't fair. The brothers were jealous. 4 of Joseph's brothers went out to mind the sheep. When they got up to mischief, Joseph told their father. Nasty telltale, his brothers yelled. Then Joseph began to tell them his dreams. We were cutting the corn and tying it in bundles, Joseph said. Your bundles bowed down to mine. I had another dream. The sun and the moon and 11 stars all bowed down to me. Who do you think you are? His brothers shrieked. They really hated Joseph now. One day, when his brothers were away minding the sheep, Jacob said to Joseph, Go and make sure everything's all right. So Joseph set off to find them. He was wearing his special coat. They saw him coming from a way away. How well they knew that coat, with its zigs and zags and stripes and red and blue and yellow. Here comes the dream boy, they said. Now's our chance to get rid of him. We can tell Dad a fierce wild animal killed him. They were so spiteful they wanted to kill Joseph. But Reuben tried to save him. Throw him down this well instead. No need to hurt him, Reuben said. So they tore off Joseph's coat and threw him down the well. Let me out! Please let me out! Joseph begged, but they pretended not to hear. Then some men come riding by. Their camels were loaded with precious things to sell in faraway Egypt. Let them have Joseph, Judah said. They can sell him too. So Joseph was taken far away to Egypt. The brothers made Joseph's special coat all dirty and messy. Then they went home. A fierce wild animal must have killed him, Jacob said, when he saw the coat. He cried and cried. He thought he would never see Joseph again. But God had a special plan for Joseph. Number 9. Joseph meets the king. Joseph was in faraway Egypt. His wicked brothers had sent him there. His father thought a fierce wild animal had killed him. Joseph was in prison in faraway Egypt. He was all alone and very unhappy. But God knew all about it. God loved Joseph and had a special plan for him. Joseph shouldn't have been in prison. He hadn't done anything wrong. It was all a mistake. The prison governor liked Joseph. He put him in charge of all other prisoners. That was part of God's plan. One day, the king of Egypt was so cross with a man who'd bought him his wine that he sent him to prison. The man was very unhappy. He had a dream that upset him. Tell me about it, Joseph said. God will help us understand. I had the king's cup in my hand, the man said. I squeezed some grapes into the cup and gave it to the king. That's a good dream, Joseph said. It means you'll be back at the palace very soon, and when you get out of prison, please tell the king about me. I promise I will, the man said. 3 days later, he was out of prison, but he forgot his promise to Joseph. Then the king had a dream that upset him. I know someone who could help, said the man who bought him his wine. So the king of Egypt sent for Joseph. In my dream, I saw 7 fat cows by the river. Then 7 thin cows came and ate them up, the king told Joseph. God helped Joseph to understand the king's dream. For 7 good years, there will be plenty of food, Joseph said. Then for 7 bad years, nothing will grow. You must store up food so that no one is hungry when the bad years come. I will put you in charge just to make sure, said the king. He took off his ring and put it on Joseph's finger. He hung a great gold chain around Joseph's neck and gave him a chariot to ride in. Joseph was the most important man in Egypt after the king. That was part of God's plan too. The bad years came. In Egypt, food was stored up ready and no one was hungry. But Joseph's family back home had nothing left to eat. "You must go to Egypt to buy food," Joseph's father said to his brothers. It was a long, long journey, but they all had to go. Only Ben, the youngest, stayed at home. "Next time, Ben must come too," the brothers told Jacob when they got back. "The man in charge says so." They did not know that the man was Joseph. They often thought about Joseph and wished they had not been so cruel. Their father did not want young Ben to go, but in the end he had to. They were all so hungry. When Joseph saw Ben, he burst into tears. "It's me, Joseph," he said. "We're in trouble now," his brothers said to themselves. "Joseph will pay us back for being so unkind to him." But instead, Joseph hugged and kissed them. "God has taken care of me all this time," he said. "Now I will take care of you." So the whole family came to Egypt.